Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the September meeting of the Diamond Valley Writers Guild. This is an exciting event because we don't often have kind of an extended program with a workshop kind of environment. Oh, looks like we have some people coming. Hi, come on in. A reminder to the people on Zoom, if you could please mute when you're not speaking, that would be very, very helpful. A little bit, what am I doing wrong?
Oh, you're not doing anything. You're just like hearing your voice.
Oh, you couldn't hear my voice? Now you can hear my voice? I could hear the echo of my voice.
There you go. Now it's like
I didn't touch it, so it was wherever it was before. I know better than to touch the placement of the mics or the tech crew. I get flogged later after lunch. Anyway. Remember to mute your mics if you're on Zoom when you're not speaking. Anthology update. There is still time to submit for the wait list. The readers have gotten through, I think, all or most of the submissions. They're going to be going on to editing. You'll be contacted if you've already submitted on the process from there, probably by the first part of October, maybe mid-October. But if you have, let's say you worked on a story and you go, I just didn't make the deadline. We do have a wait list. We haven't gone to the wait list yet, but I've got a feeling we may. So if you have a story or you want some more information, again, the anthology information is it's about animals, wild or domestic, beloved pets or rascally pets, even mythical creatures. The animal must be integral to the plot. It can't just be a walk-on or a cameo. And though it need not be central, hi, come on in. Though it need not be central, it should inform the plot or be essential in some way and impact the story meaningfully. So we do have information up front as well as on the website regarding the guidelines of the anthology. So please take that information. And if you are interested and want more information from one of the board members or from Kevin, who is handling the submissions, just reach out to the Guild and we'll make sure that your question gets to whoever it needs to get to. Shout outs. Lynette, do you want to talk about shout outs?
Yeah, as most of you know, we do shout outs for our members every month. So if you've got a book launch or you've won an award or you're just doing really fantastic, getting your stories together, whatever you're excited about, we want to share your news. We have about 400 people on our mailing list, and that goes out every month on the 28th, roughly. So just a reminder, if something's happened last month, because this will be for August, send it into the Guild website, email, and I'll make sure that you're on our shout out list.
Thank you, Lynette. You do such a fabulous job. We really appreciate all your hard work. Next on it, the agenda is call for volunteers, and I'm going to step away from the mic and let Jessica take over.
all right, we're a little bit short on time today, so I'm going to make it very concise for you. I've made flashcards. Hmm? Hmm? Yeah. Hmm? Huh. Thank you.
I never know what she's going to do, so that kind of makes it fun. Okay, election of officers. There are 3 board positions that are up for re-election this October. In October, our general meeting is when we do handle our elections. The 3 positions that are up for re-election are vice president, secretary, and member at large. If you want more information about that, I do have election information up front. But if you want to know what the different positions do, how you can help, if you just want to volunteer, maybe you don't want to be a board member, but you'd like to help in some way, contact one of the directors, contact Jessica, Sophia in the room, or online is Kevin and Lynette, who are both also on the board of directors. If you have any interest at all in getting involved, please give us a shout out. My favorite part, well, besides speakers, I always love the speakers, is the successes. So anybody in the last month since the last meeting had a project start, had a breakthrough of some sort, maybe a completion on a project, a recent publication, got featured on a podcast or in a news article, who would like to come to the mic? Let's get someone going. And on Zoom, hold on a second, we'll go to you in a second. Here comes Dennis. Dennis, come on. Here you go.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I was really fortunate. I went to Colorado Christian Writers Conference about 45 days ago. And in that time, when I was there, I was able to go ahead and meet with an editor of a magazine that does like a scouting magazine for an alternative group called Cadets. And I ended up talking to them, and I pitched 2 articles. I've already submitted one. The second one is going to be submitted this weekend or a couple of days after that. And so that was done. I also talked to an editor, and this editor actually worked in the publishing of a major publication. And they said, we'd like 2 of your books. So when I was pitching, so now I am in the process of converting one of my books, which is a children's picture book that was all written and all done. The publisher said, and the editor, I'd really like it if you would do this as a middle grade fiction. So I'm going from 1,800 words up to 25 to 32,000 words. So in the process of that, I can just tell you that, and that's going to be for 2 middle grade novels. So just be aware that that's happening. And I'll just say to DiAnn, who's our speaker today, hello. I happen to be talking to a friend of mine who I've been working with. Patricia Durgan said to say hello. And so she's my marketing coach. And then I happen to be reading in the Jerry Jenkins Writers Guild in your novel Blueprint that you're one of the coaches. So, and that you read there. So I have been making connections all over the place that have to do with our speaker. And it's just wonderful to know that we've got a great program lined up for today. Thank you so much. See you later.
Thank you, Dennis. Anybody on Zoom have something they would like to share? Please unmute. It's got to be somebody on there that has something that's happened recently.
Yeah, hi, this is John, and I published my 12th book this month. Can you see it? Can you see me? Oh, wait.
You don't have your camera on, John.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go.
Anyway, so I put my 12th book out this month, and I've got several speaking engagements. One next Wednesday it's a men's leadership organization, and they bought a bunch of my leadership books, Army Values and all that. So I got a lecture next Wednesday for that, and a couple other writing speaking engagements. And then I'm attending the conference in San Diego next weekend for the Association of Military Writers Society of America.
Wow.
And that's it. And then part 3 to this comes out in October 14th on Columbus Day.
Good. Congratulations.
John, is his name John?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Would you email me after this is all over? It's DiAnn, DIANN at DiAnnMills.com. And I'll stick it in the chat too. Thank you for letting me interrupt.
You're more than welcome. You have the complete right to interrupt anytime you want, DiAnn.
DiAnn, could you put your email in the chat? I just put my email in there. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe Lynette or Kevin could, if somebody could put that in the chat, that'd be great. Anyone else on Zoom have a success that they'd like to mention? A project start, a new publication, podcast, anything? Anybody in the room?
I'm just hoping, Michelle, that you're going to brag on you.
Well, I'm getting there. I just, just waiting for everyone else to get done. So if there's nobody else, then yes, then I have some bragging rights today. On last Thursday, the Stay a While Longer anthology came out from Temecula Valley Writers and Illustrators. See, isn't that cool? And I have the first story in volume 2. I'm very excited about that. It's called The Golden Triangle. By the way, I write under the name of M.B. Bruce. So if you Google or if you look on Amazon for Michelle Bassett, it won't show up. But what's cool is I'm one of the listed authors in the Amazon description, which means if you actually go to Amazon and put in M.B. Bruce, I pop up. I'm so excited. So now I have to create an Amazon page. But it's a 5,000 word magical realism, magic realism story set in 1974 Temecula. Everything in the Temecula Valley Writers and Illustrators anthology had to have been set or involving Temecula. Stay a while was the theme, and there were so many submissions that they had to do 2 volumes, which was pretty cool. It is also an illustrated anthology, full color. Each author was assigned an illustrator. So pick up your copy. It's on Amazon right now, and you can, those in the room can take a look at it. But I'm really, really excited. It's fun to see your work in a book. I like that. I hadn't done that one before. Anyway, that's it. Anybody else have something? Thank you. No, nothing else? Okay, well, then let's move on to our featured speaker, because she has about a 90-minute program. So that's why we went through. We were going to have another writing tip today. We decided with the length of time, we want to give this speaker as much time as she can so we can all learn the art of creating characters, of exploring characters. I'm going to turn it over to Lynette so she can do the introductions, and we'll reconnect here at the end.
Thanks, Michelle. Today we have DiAnn Mills, and she is a best-selling author who believes her readers should expect an adventure. She creates action-packed, suspense-filled novels to thrill readers. Her titles have appeared on the CBA and the ECPA bestsellers list. She's won 2 Christie Awards, Golden Scroll Awards, Selah Award, and a finalist in the RITA, Daphne du Maurier Inspirational Reader's Choice, and Carol Award contests. She is a founding board member of the American Christian Fiction Writers, an active member of the Blue Ridge Mountain Christian Writers, Advanced Writers and Speakers Association, Mystery Writers of America, the Jerry Jenkins Writers Guild, and International Thriller Writers. DiAnn speaks to various groups and teaches writing all over the country, and we are super excited to turn this program over to DiAnn. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you so much. I'm in Texas. The QR code is my website if you want to know that. That's called Unashamed Promotion. So while many of you write different genres, I obviously write suspense, so I always have to show my cut. And I will say, whenever I look at a Zoom session with all these faces, I think of Romper Room. Is anybody old enough to remember? Yes. Okay. So that always makes me giggle. I am going to share my screen. I ask for an hour and a half, but if I see yawns, or if I've seen, okay, I've given these poor people enough, then we'll cut it back a little bit. Make sure that you have my email address, because at any time, if you have questions, feel free to email me and I will get back to you. I've been writing and publishing traditionally since '98. I'd like to say I was just a child, but we all know that's not true. So at this point, I am going to share my screen because I have a PowerPoint presentation, so you don't always have to look at me. And host, thank you, host, for why does it say that you disabled? Can I have the, can you add me back into share my screen? These poor people are.
It is on for share screen. I don't know why it isn't, but it is accessed for share screen.
Oh, there it is. It said that you had disabled me for a while. And we all know that technology is something that has its own mind. There we go. And everyone can see Exploring the Art of Character. This is one of my favorite sessions to teach, because everything about our stories, no matter what the genre, is about character. The purpose of a story is for the reader to hook arms with a character and walk together into an adventure. to imagine, to envision, to care, and to feel. Hold on to that, feel. The writer journeys a character from an ordinary world into an extraordinary tale, one in which a challenge is accepted, paving the road for potential growth in one scene after another. It's going to be like, oh, many of you live in areas where you have snow, unlike me. And you know, like when you're building a snowman and it just packs more snow and packs more snow. That's what you're doing in each scene. The problems encountered along the way initiate a desire for the character to rectify a situation. It's like when somebody said to you, and I'm sure they have, you can't write a book. What makes you think you can write a book? And you just look at them and say, just watch me. And you have. The story becomes a vehicle of inspiration and encouragement, and the character drives it over mountains and through valleys, initiating action and taking responsibility for good and poor decisions. I like what Abraham Lincoln said. He said, character is like a tree, and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. I think that says so much for not only us as Christian writers, but also as our characters, what we want for them. You know, they become like friends. They're sitting beside you. They are saying, nah, I wouldn't do that. Or, hey, let's go this way, or let's go that way. And I understand that. You know, there's a movie at Christmas time about Dickens and his characters. If you haven't seen it, as a writer, you need to see this, because those characters just let him know who's doing what. So the writer uses a character to persuade readers to experience life from a different point of view. Not only does the reader enter the character's personality, but also finds a bit of him or herself in the character's pursuit to solve a problem or reach a goal. Later on, I will elaborate a little bit on this, but remember that, I'd say 75, 100 years ago, and on back through the ages, someone picked up a book and said, okay, let's say Tom Sawyer. And they would say, hey, I'm going to take an hour and I'm going to read and find out what Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn are doing. Today's reader, that's not the case. Today's reader is, I'm picking up this book and I'm going to be Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn. And that is a mindset we all have to have when writing our stories, especially with our characters. Each of you have a characterization sketch that I know they've already handed to you. And I understand that. One of the things that I want to do is to, before we really get started on things, is to do another unashamed promotion. Exploring the Art of Character is also in a book. If you like the way I teach, you may enjoy that book because it will have far more than what I can give you. If you don't like the way I teach, then you're not going to like it. But I wanted you to understand that. Tim O'Brien, the author of The Things We Carried, states, I love this, the goal any fiction writer has, no matter what the subject is to hit the human heart and the tear ducts and the nape of the neck, and to make a person feel something about what the characters are going through, and to experience the moral paradoxes and struggles of being human. I don't know about you, but there are times being human is just a struggle. And we want to show that in our stories through our characters. Now, our protagonist walks down the same lifelike roads that we do. Sometimes our hero and heroine are wounded. That's just a fact of life. We've all been wounded. Sometimes they have to display courage when they'd rather run. Sometimes they have to find logic during chaos. And sometimes they have nothing but their wits as defense. A writer's goal is for a reader to experience the story vicariously through our characters. That means all the assigned traits ensure the character comes alive. A commitment to perfecting characterization is a writer's ticket to devise a powerful character. So, how does the writer develop three-dimensional characters who breathe life into their stories? Before I hit the next slide, there's a reason why I selected this slide of living the adventure. I am a huge fan of Bear Grylls. Do y'all know who I'm talking about? He just does anything and everything, and he'll take you right along there with him and stretch him. I love it because I know the man's Christian. I love it because he's good and he cares about the people. But he also tells me a whole lot about characterization. So I encourage you to watch a few of his and see if you don't learn a lot about character, even about yourself. So the process of developing characters takes time, imagination, creativity, lots of thinking, rethinking why your character is the only story player who can play this role. Do you know why your current hero or heroine is the only character to play that role? That's something you want to ask yourself. So let's dive deeper into our characters and unlocking who they are. And who knows, you may find something about yourself. So, man was created with three distinct needs. And when we're looking at creating the flawed character, we need to understand how we were created and where that can take us if we choose flaws and weaknesses instead of the good. I hope that woke you all up. Relationships. Man was created for relationships. If someone says to you, a character says to you, well, I don't need anybody. I don't need anybody but myself. There's something missing. There's something flawed. So we were all created for relationships, significance. I'm going to turn my own volume down. Significance, to feel and be important, to know that we are valued, to know that we have purpose, that there is a reason for us opening our eyes every day. And we need to be secure who we are, what we're doing, where we live, the people around us, our community. We are all created with those three significant characteristics. So what happens when we attempt to fulfill these needs in ways that are viewed inappropriate? According to our belief system, or illegal or society. So there are 5 topics I want to give you. Money. Sometimes we think we can get those things fulfilled in us by having lots and lots of money, and the character doesn't care how they get it. Power. I've got to be in control. I've got to have power. I've got to have my tribe behind me. Sex. Yes, sex. Wow. Just watch me take over this situation and that situation, and sex will fulfill my need of relationship, significance, and security. Another is material fulfillment. I've got this car and I've got that car, and I've got 5 garages filled with more cars. I have this huge home, and I have this and I have that. Material fulfillment, they think, will take care of relationship significance and security. And the last list is a sundry of things: work, additional relationships, friendships, who we know, education. I have 4 PhDs. Aesthetic, as in the appreciation of beauty and art. All of those things can be used to show your character's flaws. Now, character motivation is always the match that lights the fire under any novel. Now, it is noon here in Houston. Some of you, it may be 1, 2 in the afternoon. I don't know. But all of you had to stop what you were doing today to be a part of this beautiful meeting and our time together. You were motivated by gaining more skills and possibly learning something different about writing your character. So that motivation is always the match that lights the fire under any novel, for you as a writer, for your character who is willing to go to heights and even depths to get what they wanted. And it's accomplished in characterization, but also in backstory, in plot, setting, dialogue, emotion, symbolism, body language. Every aspect shows who the character is. So that's our discovery today and tomorrow and anytime that we dive into our stories to find out what our characters are doing. I love this quote. I guess I like quotes, but anyway, I like what Roz Morris says. When she says it matters to the character, then the character must earn it. Simple. But let me flip that. What about you as writers? If it matters to the writer, then the writer must earn it. Just like our character has to develop skills and get strong and be brave and learn and grow, so do we as writers. In fact, I'll make my little psychological statement right now. Every time we write something, whether it be a short story, a novella, a book, fiction or nonfiction, we all want our readers to be entertained, to be inspired, to be encouraged, and to grow a little bit. And the truth of the matter is, if we don't grow and learn something new about ourselves, our spiritual life, our physical, our mental life, in the process of writing a story, what's the point? So everything we want about that character are things that we want about ourselves. So every character is dealing with a change, a crisis, something out of his or her comfort zone, where they realize that the life they were living and the coping skills they've been using to survive don't work anymore. this creates a need to change. As Christians, this is where we emphasize that the best change comes when we surrender our wills and how we think we should approach life by handing it over to what God's sovereignty says. It also helps the writer understand that as our best writing comes from pain, our character's deepest change and the opportunity to work in the spiritual element or mental element surfaces from their pain. We've all been hurt. We've all been lied to, abandoned. That's a whole another workshop, but we'll touch on it a little bit today. All of those things. And we learned something. The things that our characters learn, our heroes and heroines, much of that happened in the backstory, but there will be more as we move along. And we'll talk about that later too. So, yes, thank you for jumping for me. What does the character strength mean? What does it mean? I like what Michael Haig said, the author of Story Masters. Fabulous, fabulous book. What does this person have the courage to do at the end of the story that he or she is too afraid to do at the beginning? Now, you know I'm going to flip this. It's a challenge to all you writers. What will you have the courage to do at the end of this workshop that you might be afraid or hesitant to do right now? That's my challenge. And I love giving challenges, quotes and challenges. The inner qualities of characterization takes time and patience and the other things that I gave you. Personality testing establishes whether a person is an introvert or an extrovert. And there are many degrees in between. Introverts tend to do a better job of reading other people's emotions. Most writers are introverts. We sit in the back of the room or in the corner and we watch all of these extroverts who could make friends with a fence post, and they're dancing on the table and they're loud and they're funny and many of them are sweet. But we introverts, we kind of watch and observe. With an extrovert, everybody is their best friend. And they are easier to read than introverts. I use a Myers-Briggs personality assessment for all my, for creating all my personalities. But what I want to say before I forget it, that there are other methods out there too. You have to choose what works best for you. This one has to work best for me. And on your characterization skit is the humanmetrics.com that I use. And I'm going to give you just a few more reasons why I like that particular personality testing. You answer 75 questions about the character. And here's a little tip. You might want to do it first on yourself if you don't know who yourself is. Kind of fun. But you answer all those questions according to how you feel your character is, what that character is saying to you, what role that character will play in your story. So you do all of that, you hit send, submit, and it will tell you in different degrees of introvert and extrovert what your character is all about, how they process life, how they think, how they learn, all kinds of things. And it will help you, that particular site will give you who they're attracted to with the opposite sex. They will give you careers that your character would excel in. It also gives you a list of real people who have that personality. It will also give you a list of fictional people who have that personality. So I just love it, and that's my reason why. The distinctive personality for your character helps you see what motivates them, what kind of behavior they're going to have. You know, when we write, we want to make sure that we create the unexpected, the unpredictable, but yet, you know what? I didn't see that coming. But with what's been written about that character, now I see it. That's what we want. That's what we want, friends. We want someone to text us or email us early in the morning and say, thanks to you, I didn't get any sleep last night. Would you like to come and do my job for me today? I mean, we love that. And that's what we want. And with the vital information regarding habits, careers, and the other famous people, it's a guide to help us spin off from ground zero with our characterization. It's just the beginning, friends. Just the beginning. So, who is your antagonist? Your antagonist is anything or anyone that stands in the way of the hero reaching their goals, achieving a goal, solving a problem. That's your antagonist. Not every antagonist is a villain, but every villain is an antagonist. Let's say that some of you who drove here, or maybe some of you who went into your offices and shut the door, and your dog couldn't come in. And your dog is sitting out there howling because it won't let you leave. It won't let you go. And for you people who had to get in your cars, that dog laid right in front of the door, said, no way are you leaving without me. Now, at that point, that dog or child or spouse or significant other is an antagonist. But they are not a villain unless they pull out a gun or the dog bites you. So we need to understand what we're going to have as antagonists and what we're going to have as villains. Power-packed stories must have an opponent or opposition to the hero's goal. There's no point. Antagonists attract their prey by charm, seduction, money, influence, or control. The evil in a villain has a root, and it's the writer's job to unearth it. Some describe villains as two types, either purely evil or sympathetic. And I encourage you, as you create a villain who is a person, human, that you always give them some type of a sympathetic background. It doesn't mean that what they are doing is okay or you can get by with it, but it means that you understand why they chose that bad behavior. It doesn't justify the behavior. It just helps you understand them. My thoughts are all villains have an origin of a critical, unmet need. David Corbett describes an antagonist, and many of you have either read his novels or his writing how-to books. But he says, as the one with the power, the will, and the desire to deny, destroy, or claim for himself what the protagonist wants. That is his explanation, David Corbett's explanation for an antagonist. Now, the question rises for the writer, what constitutes an antagonist? Let's look at the following categories. Another character, that's pretty obvious. What about nature? The weather. I live in Houston. We've, hurricanes, tornadoes, almost got emotional on hurricanes, tornadoes. The weather can be just absolutely horrible. 100 degrees. Oh, I guess it was Thursday. That can be a bit of a antagonist. Natural forces or a predatory animal. Those are all parts of nature that can be used as an antagonist. There is a story, a book that I believe was made into a movie, and it was a bestseller. The story of Pi, and I wasn't not talking about the kind you eat or math, where this character was in a lifeboat with a tiger. Okay, that's a bit of a predator animal sharing a lifeboat. Number 3, social issues or a specific group. Those can be antagonists. Those who refuse to accept your culture, your way of thinking, faith, political, all those kinds of things, and they turn against you, either violence or whatever reason. Those are antagonists. Mental problems. You've heard the line, oh my goodness, she is her worst enemy. Sometimes mental issues are antagonists. And spiritual issues, no matter what the faith or religion or lack of. No matter the type of antagonist and level of behavior, the antagonist must be as real, if not more so, than the protagonist. Unpredictable and brilliant. Whenever you can give the antagonist more of a benefit, something to tip the scales in their favor against the protagonist, you got a great story going. So let me take a drink of water. And let's move on. Right here is something that I found of great value when trying to analyze my characters. Now, let me stop right here and say something. I am not an outliner. Confession number 1. I write by the seat of my pants, but I create my characters through the things that I'm giving you. All of my point of view characters are created this way so that I have a good handle on who they are before I begin chapter 1, line 1. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm an outliner, I could never do that. Or I'm a pantster, I could never do that. That didn't work today. Does not work. Okay, so let's talk about the uniqueness of your character. And we're going to talk about concept, how they view life, or different things that happen in life according to being independent, or if they're part of a group. So let's look at this. Self. Is self viewed as independent? I don't need anybody. I'm managing life, what I'm going to do, my goals, my expectations, they're all mine. Or does the identity belong to a group? There is nothing wrong with an identity belonging to a group. Many of you may be in work environments where people work as a team, or you belong to a club, a writers group, where you work as a team. The problem is if your group is a gang or a cartel, then we might have a few problems. Life goals. To discover and express one's uniqueness. That's who I am. I'm going to show what I can do. It's all about me. Or connections allows to fit in. So you're in your writing group and you may be phenomenal at writing dialogue, but this writer over here does a fabulous job of plotting. So let's connect so we can fit into our group as great writers. That's an off-the-cuff kind of example, but that's what I mean. So what matters in life to your character? Is it me, personal achievements, rights, self-esteem, liberties? Or is it we, the group? includes responsibilities and relationships, whether that group is appropriate or inappropriate. What about coping methods? As an independent person, hey, if I don't like this, I'm out of here. I'm changing my reality. If I don't like this job, this relationship, where I live, I'm out of here. Or as thinking as a group, am I willing to accommodate the rest of the group to accept their reality? What about morality? What I want to say about morality is it's self-biased. What I say goes. There's a law made, I'll break it. There's a rule, I'll break it. If I'm supposed to do this, I'll do whatever I want. Or is defined by a social network by your group. Relationships. An independent person may have many, they may have temporary, or they may have casual relationships. Those who belong to a specific group may have only a few. They may be close and they're enduring. Harmony is valued. And I'm going to stop right here to give you a couple of ideas of what I want. I am huge on research and interviewing and putting my feet on the ground where my characters are. So obviously I don't write sci-fi and fantasy, but I have ridden the line with the Border Patrol. I have a part of the FBI Citizens Academy, part of the ATF Citizens Academy, whatever it takes. And then I'm just saying, to give you an example, that many of these men and women, their relationships are defined by who they're working with. I don't know what your character is doing, but you may want to consider that. For example, just one example here, when I was riding along with the Border Patrol in McAllen, Texas, I always want to find out what they like about their job, what they don't like, their kids, their family. And this was it. As a Border Patrol agent, you don't wear your uniform outside your apartment or your house, because then your wives or your children could be attacked, or you could be attacked. Where you go to church or don't go to church, where you socialize, all of that is usually right around your other buds. So think about your story and see if that has anything to do with what you're doing. And behavior depends on my personality and my attitude that day. Not that being independent is wrong. Don't get me there, because there's many times when we need a character to say, I don't care what the rest of you are doing. I'm not doing that. And it could be for very good reasons. Whereas a group, it's just the norms and the roles. So I hope I've given you a little something there that you can play with. I've said this before, but I want to just reiterate on that just a moment. And that is what I said before. We write to entertain, we write to inspire, and we write to encourage. We write because we cannot not write. It drives us insane. It drives us crazy if we aren't writing, even if no one else sees it. So that's why I said before, as your novel progresses, your character changes, and that character may not know the crack in their plaster. They may not. But by the end of the story, they know what that crack is, and they are doing a whole lot of work to patch that crack. And sometimes that's ourselves when we're writing. And so that brings us to the next portion, which is backstory. Oh, yes, it's intimate, it's personal, it is exciting, And we don't always tell our backstory to everyone else. Robert McKee wrote in his book Story, and I quote, backstory, previous significant events in the lives of the character that the writer can reveal at critical moments to create turning points. That's backstory. View it this way. Backstory is everything that happened to you before you tuned in to this meeting at, I think it's 9:30 your time, 11:30 my time, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everything that happened before is backstory. But everything that happened before then, and when you stepped into this session, is like chapter 1, line 1 of your story. We are 4-part creatures who deal with the various realms of our world. Our characters, like us, have the same challenges, and their backstory shows the how and the why of their actions. It's a writer's job to mine those events and use them to add definition and credibility to the story. And I'll repeat this. Everything that happens before chapter 1, line 1 of your story is backstory. A reader needs only those happenings in the past that influence chapter 1, line 1 of your story. By learning a character's backstory, actions in the present are easier for the writer to predict according to life experiences and lessons learned. Some memories that we have, your character has, are like nightmares. And they have the power to hinder a character's self-confidence and personal growth and potential growth. The mind's echo can paralyze a critical action or propel the story forward. For example, backstory is a heroine's nightmare of an ex-boyfriend who stalked and threatened her years ago. She may not be able to trust unless she's able to come to terms with that. Backstory is a hero's nightmare about allowing his best friend to drive home alone drunk from a party. The friend drove off a bridge and was killed. You think that hero has a lot of confidence today? He may cover it up, or maybe he learned something. Backstory is an antagonist nightmare of a parent who forced him or her to sleep outside for punishment. The antagonist remembers waking drenched in rain or covered in snow. All of your characters, your protagonists and your antagonists, have nightmares in their backstory. In contrast, characters may have fond memories that empower and encourage them to accept life and its challenges. The happenings are like a soothing balm over a troubled soul. For example, backstory is a heroine's memory of a school teacher who saw her gift in painting. Today, the heroine is a nationally acclaimed landscape artist. See how that backstory lit the fire, lit the match for that character? Backstory is a hero's memory of choosing architecture as a college major despite family objections. Today, he is featured in worldwide publication for his commercial building designs. Or, remember we talked about the antagonist? Have to have something sympathetic, something likable. Backstory is an antagonist memory of spending summers at his or her grandparents' ranch. The character will never forget their unconditional love. Your character needs good backstory things and not so good backstory things. A genuine hero or heroine always initiates action. Always. They are never the victim. They may have been the victim in the backstory and they learned a bunch, which makes them a hero today. They are not victims, but they will initiate action and they will take responsibility or the consequences of their poor decisions. Babies don't leap from their mother's wombs and announce they will become a doctor, a business professional, a military expert, a writer, a bank robber, gang member, serial killer. That doesn't happen. Their backstory explains the why of their actions. And I will say that some of that backstory does happen in their DNA and what they've inherited. I don't want anyone to think that I'm not for that. By learning the backstory of the character, as I said a few minutes ago, you can help predict what's going to happen in the present because of the experiences they've gone through and how they have learned. That's why if you write a story in which you have a professional cop and a rookie cop, they've got different responses, different ways that they look at things, different fears, different challenges, different strengths. Relationships often seem contrived unless the writer has established a crafted backstory to weave how and why the characters behave the way they do. Reveal the inspiration behind these traits in snippets at strategic points and moments throughout the story. The writer uses backstory to add stress, conflict, tension, or motivation to the scene. Tension arises when a character realizes the cost of doing nothing could cost everything. And the character is willing to make the sacrifice to reach his goal or solve its problem. Now, you know I'm going to turn this on you. Just stick your name as a writer in that slide. What happens if you decide, okay, I'm not going to be a writer. I'm not going to do it. Do you understand that not taking the sacrifice to learn the craft could actually stop you from reaching your goals or solving your problems? That dream will always be there. Do you want your story power-packed, create an antagonist with such a sympathetic backstory that the reader is thinking, oh, please, 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 don't be an antagonist. Don't be a villain. You can overcome what happened to you. How can we write about protagonists and antagonists unless we know what motivates them? And the only way to do that, writers, is to spend time, not in simple terms, but establishing deep needs that are not easily resolved. To understand the depth of a character and to discover what they want, the writer has to take all the information mined in researching the character's life and observe the character in action to figure out the motivation. That's why I go to all of that trouble to fill out those pages of characterization sketch and then more on researching who they are, not who they are, but their careers. That's why I spend all that time. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to know those characters as well in chapter 1, line 1, as I do at the end of my story. So take inventory of the character's childhood. Write about those experiences that formed his or her personality for the present story. Use all 7 universal emotions to learn about the character. That includes surprise, fear, anger, sadness, disgust, happiness, and contempt. So, and ask the hard questions that the character may not want to discuss. Put them in the hot seat and force the character to expose inner hurts and pain. In the depths of the forbidden, the writer finds the nuggets of personality, persuasion, and power. If we were doing a workshop on emotion, I would stop right here and have all of you do this particular exercise. So I'm going to give you a break, but I want you to write this down. This came from Donald Moss. If you ever have an opportunity to attend a Donald Moss, MAASS workshop, do so. Do not walk to sign up, run. I have been in 7 of his live workshops. You might say, well, she's just a slow learner, which is probably true. But I have done week-long, 5-day, 3-day, 2-day, weekend, 1 day. I have done them all. And the reason is because he's a genius. But this is an exercise that is incredibly valuable. What is the most painful experience of your life? I encourage you right now to write that down. And I'm going to give you a few other instructions. And then in the privacy of your own writing, I encourage you to do this. I want you to make it as angry and as bitter as it happened. I want you to write down how old you were, what was said, what was done to you, those who were present, how you feel about that now. Everything, write it down. Nobody's going to see this. And if you need to reach for a box of Kleenex, go ahead and do it. I have done this live in front of people in which that very thing happened. And this is the reason why. This is why I want you to do this. Some years ago, I gave this at a writing conference. And a lady in the front row said, "DiAnn, I can't do this." And there were tears in her eyes. And I said, that's okay. Write down the specifics like I just gave you. And when you go home, I encourage you to do this. About 18 months later, I was at another writers' conference, and a publishing house was handing out a writer's very first contract. And it happened to be the woman who had sat on the front row of me talking about emotions and painful experiences. And she won her very first contract, her first book contract. And she's gone on too. And afterwards, and there were about 400 people in the room, and it was an award ceremony. I guess I didn't say that. She calls out my name. Now, I'm not a real huggy bear, kissy face kind of person. I just kind of want to make sure who I do those things with. And she comes running to me and she's crying. So she's crying. I start to cry too. I have no clue, except I'm very happy for her. She says to me, "I went back home and took your challenge. And that challenge I put in the very first scene. Just now, the editor who presented her with her first book contract said, when I read the emotion in that first scene, I knew I had to have that book." So that is my motivation. That's my encouragement for all of you to consider doing that particular exercise. Okay, let's move on to self-preservation. Why? Whoops. No, I didn't. Self-preservation. plays a vital role in how a character approaches the ups and downs of life. Remember, backstory and motivation are sisters, but they're not twins. A psychologist friend of mine has spent years counseling people from all walks of life, from business professionals to those in prison. And he's always encouraged them to make positive changes in their behavior. His wisdom regarding self-preservation has helped me deepen my characterization, and so I want to share that with you. Everyone makes a vow during childhood, adolescence, and adulthood to protect themselves from emotional, physical, or mental pain. In childhood, it's something like this. Something is going on around me that's not right, and I'm afraid. It's wrong. How can I protect myself? That child gets to middle grade, up to age 17. Things in his or her life aren't going exactly right. They don't know why, and they feel that it's wrong. So they ask themselves, how do I make a decision to avoid the pain? Should I run away from home? Should I drink? Should I use drugs? Should I turn to a community organization? Do I talk to a teacher? Do I get involved with church? And then ages 18 to 29, they know something's wrong in their life, but they don't know what it is. And now they're on their own. How do I manage life? How do I take care of education and wealth and humor and crime? Are all those parts of things to make me feel good? So ask your character, dear writers, why are you choosing this behavior? What are you believing? Your character's story may not be true, but he or she believes it. Those who have hurts and regrets avoid looking back. So look deeper into your character's backstory. How is he or she sabotaging what he really wants? This is especially true in romantic relationships. I want this person in my life, but I have to distance my heart out of self-protection or self-preservation. They might hurt me, and I just can't do that. Once you, the writer, has searched the childhood years, move on to the teens, young adulthood, and on to the current age of the character. And that's all in your character sketch. The more we discover about the character, the richer the backstory. The richer the backstory, the more defined the character. And as I said before, not everything you learn about the backstory of that character is useful. Only the parts that pertain to the story. What's important is for the writer to know the character psychologically. Many use a college psychology book. I've got a couple over here that I refer to. I have a Christian counselor's guide. I have a regular counselor's guide. Psychology, behavior. I subscribe to those things online that helps train up my mind about behavior. So here are a few more hands-on exercises I have for you, and two of which are in your on your character sketch. The third one, I don't remember at this moment. I believe it is. Number one, how did your character's mother comfort him or her as a child? Think about it. This also means, what was your mother's personality? Your mother is a role model. Number two, how did your character's father comfort him or her as a child? You know, maybe the mother didn't, but the father did, or the other way around, or they had unique ways of comforting you. And the third question is, how do the answers to those questions 1 and 2 affect your character's emotional maturity today? How does that affect them? What a character wants doesn't necessarily match what the character needs. They are rarely the same. Wants to operate on pleasure and are often temporary, and needs are what we need to survive. At times, needs are physical, but all have a psychological root. Pursuing wants can lead a character down the wrong path until a revelation occurs. What is vital? What is the satisfying life? What do I need for life to be right and satisfying? And that means motivation for a need has to supersede the wants. A typical story, and I keep looking at time here because I want to make sure that we get all of this in here, is let's say you have a young man who's a senior in high school. He's not a jock, maybe a little nerdy, but he's brilliant, very, very intelligent. And he already has a full scholarship at a renowned college going for him. But he's still a senior in high school. And he's still in love with the head cheerleader who won't give him the time of day. She could care less. She has her own boyfriend. So then the young man thinks, you know what? If I had a new FM 150 Ford with all the bells and whistles, everything, she'd take another look at me. I could get that girl. She'd leave that other guy behind and she'd be mine forever. That's a want. So he goes to his parents and he says, you know what? I've been thinking and I've got my education paid for, but this bunch of junk I'm driving for a car, it just keeps falling apart. If you can get me this, and he lays out what he wants, shows him a picture of the specs. If you can get this for me, I'll get a part-time job and pay the insurance, and I know how to change the oil and the gas, and I'll have a very good, reliable vehicle to see me all through my college and master's, if you would do this for me. And his parents say, yeah, you've been a great kid. You've never given us any trouble. We'll get that for you. So he gets what he wants. He gets his truck. Now, you tell me, what does he really, really want? The truck? The girl? You tell me. You know the answer. But what does he really need? What he needs, because I can't say, yes, you're right. What he really needs is confidence. Confidence, purpose, reassurance in his own skin. Not the girl, not the truck, not even the education. He needs confidence in himself. So, where does backstory fit? And yes, right here. Where does backstory fit? I bet you've been thinking about this all along. Well, where's it go? So, before writing each scene, ask yourself the following questions. What is the point of view character's goal or problem? Okay. In this scene, they wake you up in the middle of the night saying, get to your computer, get to your laptop, whatever. We've got something here to do. Number 2, what does a POV character learn that he or she didn't know before? What's new in this scene that is new and different and exciting as they go through these few pages of this scene? Number 3, what backstory is revealed? Now, that backstory has to be connected to the character's goal or problem in that scene, and what's going on with what he or she didn't know before. Now, let me stop right here, give you a couple of things about backstory. And that is question 2 and 3 could have the same answer. Think about that. Could new information be something that they learned about the goal or the problem that happened in backstory? Sure. But we want to avoid backstory and negative attributes about the point of view character in the first approximately 50 pages. And you're thinking, why? Let me tell you why. This is when we are dating the reader. This is when we are putting on our best outfit. This is when she's going to laugh at his jokes. This is when we're getting to know the character. We're dating. Simple as that. And here's another little story. I just invited all of you to come to my house for a pool party and a barbecue. Just show up, got a live band, everything. We're going to have a magnificent time. Doorbell rings. You're ready. I open the door. You're ready to step in, and I say, no, you can't come into the house. You can't start the party, parentheses, story, until I tell you how long we've lived here, when we've done updates, who built the house, the last time we put a new roof on, the background of every person that's here. Do you get my story? You would turn around and leave. You would shut the book. But if I welcome you and say, come on in, I'm so glad you're here. Your outfit's incredible. I love that bikini or Speedo or whatever you're wearing. Come on in. There's some food in the kitchen, but most of it is outside by the pool. Just come on in and enjoy yourself. So you're thinking, okay, I'll read this book. I'll come to this party. And you look out and you see someone. And you think, I never wanted to see that person again. Dear friends, that's enough backstory. That's reason for you to keep turning pages. So I'm hoping you understand what I'm talking about. And then the last question is, how are the stakes raised for the point of view character? If I was teaching plot, we do the same thing, but I wanted to show you about unlocking our characters' closet doors by knowing backstory. Now, we could also talk about, I think I have it right here. Yes, the physical landscape. And I am going to see here. No, I was going to have each one of you look at your characterization sketch, but I'm not, because I know you know how to read. And I know that the things I have asked you and gone over are on that characterization sketch. So I want to say briefly about the outer landscape, and that's what I call it. That's the Barbie and Ken stuff. The things that, let me go through a whole, is it IMDb? IMB. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Actors, actresses, looking on Pinterest. I want to see what someone about 5'11", and they're a little chubby, but he's real cute and he's got a beard. What do they look like? That's your outer landscape. Trying to find out what our characters look like. With the understanding, dear friends, whatever you attach to your character as a physical trait most likely has something to do with their mental or psychological. You want to give a woman a big nose and big ears? How do you think she handled going up through school with a big nose and big ears? You think it affected Her confidence, of course, is true of everything. So understand that whatever you assign to your character physically will most likely have a psychological meaning. Okay, let's go into love. Love languages. Many of you have read Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages. Words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, receiving gifts, physical touch. Your character may have more than one of these that they gravitate to, but there'll be one that will be more prominent. Finding out that love language is important to your story. And on your sketch, I believe I gave you a Myers-Briggs link that will show you what that personality's love language most likely is. It's a help. So a character who grew up alone without encouragement and forced to be independent may soften with a person who demonstrates sincere acts of service. A character who experienced criticism all of their life may respond well to words of affirmation. A character whose parents never spent quality time with them may appreciate someone sharing individual attention. A character who grew up in an environment where gifts weren't viewed important may be emotionally moved by a tangible token of appreciation. A character who never encountered physical touch longs to experience the connection of one human being to another. That character may enjoy a loving pet, yet be fearful of human relationships. Another consideration for a character's grasp of love is the character's view of faith. Some religions define love according to whatever their core beliefs are. For the character without faith, love is dictated by life happenings and what the character values most. A character who has been rejected by love in childhood, adolescence, or adulthood may never allow him or herself to become vulnerable again. They may put a protective shield around their heart and reject the intimacy of friendship or a lasting relationship. A wounded heart is the hardest to heal. Now note, an antagonist can use a love language to work against a protagonist. Had you thought about that? And a protagonist can use a love language to discover insight about the antagonist or the villain. Your turn. And I believe this is on your character sketch. What is your protagonist's love language and how can you use it in your story? What's your antagonist's love language, providing your antagonist is a person? How can you use it in your story? Let's move on to lies. Lies. Anybody ever been lied to? Of course we have. And we respond according to our personality and our life experiences and the role models that we've had. So our response is based on personality and backstory and life experiences. But the damage can do irreparable. It can be irreparable to relationships. But what about the lies our characters believe? Do you know anyone who believes a lie? And no matter what you do or say, you can't get them to deal with it, to refuse to believe it? And our characters are the same way. How do those who journey through our story respond in situations where they have a convoluted view of truth? How does that affect their decisions and motivate them into action? Perhaps the problem with our characters is not what we believe as writers or another character, but what that character believes about themselves. Lies, big and small, influence the character's goals, wants, needs, desires, strengths, weaknesses, dialogue, behavior, emotion, symbolism, and goes on. The storyline may take a new and often twisted journey when a lie drives the character's actions. While the unpredictability of a character's behavior makes for an exciting story, the issues can stretch the writer's imagination and skill. The lies, those pesky confidence destroyers and killers of relationships, careers, view of deity, and distorted truth, stop our characters from reaching their full potential. If those lies aren't addressed, the character may never move beyond their tragic circumstances. The character's backstory has molded and led them into action. Every life experience can influence misconceptions about life, which is true for protagonists and antagonists. Here's a few examples that I can give you about lies our characters may believe. I have no choice but to be perfect. Life isn't fair. I'll never be happy unless I have lots of money. Everyone is out to get me. God's love must be earned. Without a facelift and a tummy tuck, I'll never be beautiful. Morals are a personal preference. Laws are to be broken. Relationships are 50-50. Anything else, and I'm out of here. The only way for someone to love me is for me to take care of them. How the character interprets the lie shows the real inner character. When a writer discovers what prompted the character's lies and forces the character to deal with it, the writer shoves motivation into place. So what's your character believe that's a lie? Your antagonist, your protagonist. Okay, what do I want to? Yes, I want to cover blind spots. Yes, where are we at? Oh, we have been at this more than an hour. And I understand. I understand this. So I am going to give you.
You've got a good 25 minutes easily.
I have 25 minutes. Okay. Sacrifice.
Because then in case we have questions.
Yes, I want to make sure. So I am going to work through these again. And I'm being serious. If you want to know about lies, blind spots, sacrifices, love language, betrayal, I've got those in here. It's just I wanted to give you as much as I could. So sacrifice, how far will a protagonist or antagonist go to ensure the sacrifice is worth the price? And I've got these soldiers up here. You have to believe in your stories for all the time and the sacrifices you make to ensure they are the best. Your character has to make sacrifices, and it has to be emotional as well as physical to lay the foundation for an unforgettable story. One definition of sacrifice, according to the New Oxford American Dictionary, is an act of giving up something valued for the sake of something else regarded as more important or worthy. There's no room for insincerity in the realm of a sacrifice. Both protagonists and antagonists must be prepared to give everything they value for the good of the goal, even their lives. The events can be large or whatever they hold close and dear to their hearts. And the potential to be a sacrifice must be meaningful and matter to the storyline. I'm going to give you a few ideas of what I mean for the character to sacrifice. and understand that the character has to show throughout the story that they're capable of giving a sacrifice. A woman gives her last crust of bread to a child, not her own. A brother gives his kidney so his estranged brother can live. A group of people donate blood as a gift of life. A woman walks away from a relationship when she sees her fiance is in love with another woman. A couple gives up a comfortable lifestyle to adopt hard-to-place children. A wealthy businessman resigns from his job so his children can grow up in a rural community. A family passes on Thanksgiving dinner to serve at a soup kitchen. A child forgoes a birthday gift because a parent is unemployed. A grandparent lives below their income to help finance a grandchild's education. Soldier volunteers for a dangerous mission. And the list goes on. An antagonist will seldom sacrifice for anyone but himself unless that character has some sort of empathy. Does your character make a sacrifice? Do you know what it is? Let us go on to blind spots. Every character has a blind spot, an area where he or she is most vulnerable, and it's an emotional darkness in which the character lacks understanding or ignores or is unaware of a potentially harmful situation. And it's through a series of planned deception that the opposition successfully deceives and manipulates the character. Blind spots occur in our protagonists and our antagonists, and they make for lovely little plot twists. It's an opportunity for a protagonist to grow, for an antagonist. If it's uncovered, that antagonist, oh my goodness, the ways that they can respond, and it may not be good. So we can add blind spots in our characterization, plot, emotion, symbolism, dialogue, and setting. So I encourage you to find your protagonist blind spot and your antagonist blind spot. We've all heard someone say, "You got my blind backside." We've seen the movie with Sandra Bullock. I think it was called Blind Side. But you know what I'm talking about. It's like a mother who believes her child can do no wrong. And so when the teacher calls, she says, "You got the wrong child. Mom would never do that." That is what I'm talking about. Betrayal. And if there's one thing I want all of you to gather, it's betrayal. We've all been betrayed, and it's worse than a lie. But the one thing I want you to know about betrayal is this, and this came from my psychologist friend, who's a very good writer, by the way. And he said that to analyze our characters with the type of betrayal that has happened to them. And through his wisdom and guidance, he told me that the victims of betrayal respond in different ways. Number one, some may suffer in silence. I've been betrayed. Okay, I feel like a fool. It doesn't matter. Some choose suicide if they've been betrayed. Some turn to addictive behaviors to avoid the pain. Some seek healing. Some devise and move forward in revenge. A character guided by retribution chooses an antagonistic attitude. When betrayal serves as the sharpest tool, the character moves beyond badly behaved to evil and abandons integrity to devise a plan that builds trust and then uses the relationship to manipulate the victim. Now, a protagonist motivated by betrayal selects justice in a way that is more morally and legally appropriate. Many characters who face betrayal respond emotionally in grief, shock, stress, mental anguish, low self-esteem, self-doubt, anger, a loss of control, depression, or withdrawal. Characters who are heroes and heroines search for ways to shake it off or to get healing. They may opt for counseling or take prescribed medicine. And then again, if they refuse to get healing, recovery may never happen. If the character is unwilling to take a chance on him or herself, the depth of emotion escalates when the betrayal comes from a friend, a loved one, or a family member, because the unawareness crushes the spirit. Here's another thing that if you don't get much today, I want you to understand this. Betrayal mixes guilt and shame. Guilt says, I made a mistake, I'm so sorry. Shame says, oh, really wish I hadn't do that. I'm ashamed, I'm humiliated. When you mix both of them together, the betrayal, it's betrayal, and it results in rage, uncontrollable rage. So that is up to you to handle those things. I'm going to real quickly give you the definition of an anti-hero. And that is a character who doesn't fall under the category of a hero or a heroine. Although the anti-hero differentiates right from wrong, that doesn't mean what they'll choose. Their actions, whether noble or not noble, accomplishes something that benefits them. Anti-heroes are like Jack Sparrow. Some say that Darth Vader was even an anti-hero. And goodness. A dark hero is a character who lacks the traditional characteristics of an exceptional protagonist, and it's harder luck. Darker heroes. Y'all remember Jack Bauer in 24? He was a dark hero because there are times he kind of slipped into areas that we didn't approve of. Batman in the Batman Goes Bad movies. So I have made it. I am going to get out of this so that I recommend printing out that characterization sketch. And if you think, okay, I like this, but I would want to add this, or there's no way I would do this, make it yours, personalize it. Each one of you has a personality, a writer personality that dictates how your brain writes. So whatever you receive from anyone, advice or things that they say you must do this, no, you make it work according to your brain. So if later on you would think, okay, I wish I have that characterization in a Word format, email me, I'll send it to you in a Word format so you can make it yours. To me, characterization is a springboard to great novel writing. And actually, we could have gone on a whole lot longer and with lots and lots of details, but I don't want you taking your afternoon nap on me. So I hope you found some tools to move your novel to the next level. Ernest Hemingway says, we all are, come on, DiAnn, I'm needing more water. We are all apprentices in a craft where no one ever becomes the master. So keep learning, reading, writing, practicing to unlock the keys to your character, to your story, and how you work best. So before I open it up to questions or sing lullabies to anybody who might be asleep, exploring the art of character. Also has one exploring the art of plotting. Let me turn it there. That's the right way. And exploring the art of emotion and dialogue. Those are 3 things you can get if you are interested. This is my newest baby. It was released the day after Labor Day. Lethal Standoff, published by Tyndale. If you like romantic suspense, if you like character-driven novels, if you like anything to do with negotiation, that's what that book is about. Okay, self-promotion ended. How can I answer some questions? Do I go to the chat or is there someone monitoring them?
I'll be moderating questions. Is there anyone on Zoom that has a question for DiAnn? Go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Well, see, you did such a good job, DiAnn, that no one seems to have any questions. There's got to be somebody out there with a question.
Well, you're either all in a hurry to leave, I blew it. Oh, y'all are going to lunch, and I think at a Mexican food restaurant, right? Oh, that'd be worth the slide out there. Let's see. How can I get a copy of your of your workbook? DC asked, how can I get a copy of your workbook? You can go to Amazon.
If you email the guild, we will send you a copy.
Okay, you're talking about the handout?
I think they're talking about the handout. Is that correct?
That's probably so. And it, as I say, it's in PDF form. Let's see. There are lots of, and in the back of that handout, I do give you some more resources. Online bloggers to write that I like to follow, that I believe in. I gave you few names: Donald Moss, Stephen James, James Scott Bell. Any they do are good, but I have all theirs on the line. But what I do want to say is how important it is to know that character inside and out. It's critical. And I do value that you gave up part of your Saturday for me today. And I'll have you know, I made my husband homemade lemon ricotta. I can't even say my own recipe. Pancakes for breakfast, along with bacon and all those other good things. I do like to cook, because when I cook, that's when my stories cook too. So you got to think about that.
Okay, we do have someone at the mic with a question. Go ahead, Angie.
I wanted to ask if we can get a copy of your slides. There was so much there, and I was writing furiously but couldn't quite keep up. And then the follow up to that is sorry, why don't you answer that one first?
Okay, let me write down here. I will send you a PDF of the slides. I may have it. So I'll make sure that I send that to
Can that be posted on the website, perhaps?
Let me send it.
Why don't you send it into the guild email, and then anyone who requests a copy, I can forward it to it. I don't really want to post it. I just would rather send it to individuals if they're interested.
Secondarily, is this being recorded so that we could reference the whole presentation on the website?
Yes, it's not on the website. We have a YouTube channel, but you can access it from the website. It should go up, I'm hoping, within the next 3 weeks.
Excellent. Those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead, Greg.
I love the characters that you're talking about. My question is, how many characters are too many in a book? Because I read, I can't even remember the the name of it now, but it had a lot of Russian names and Scandinavian names and everything in the plot, and I got very confused, and I stopped even paying attention to the names of the guys and just sort of went along to figure out what the story was all about.
Okay.
So how many is too many?
I would say, don't anybody shoot me. I don't like, Donald Moss says 12. To me, that is almost too many. You know, I could share my, I'm going to show you something. It'll just take a minute. Let me pull up new document so that you don't see what I'm doing right at the moment. And I'm going to show you just exactly what I mean. All right, let's say you have a character by the name of John, and Mary, and Stephen, Ted. All right, let's go right here. Let's say that John is the sheriff of a town, good sheriff, absolutely good sheriff. He's married to Mary, who is wife of John. I'm going to move my, nope, then you can't see the screen. I'm going to do my best because I have my camera right down in the middle of my screen. So if I misspell something, consider the source. Wife of John and daughter of Ted. Ted is, Ted is a wealthy, DiAnn can't chew gum and talk at the same time. I do have a reason for this. Wealthy rancher, church deacon. I think that's right, but you know what I'm talking about. Ted is John's brother. A deputy. Engaged to Susan, who is Mary's sister. Consider the source, right? Oh, I see what I did. I'm trying to be resourceful and I'm not doing a very good job. All right, sister. And then we have Susan. Now, at this point, where's the brother? Ted. Okay, and I'm going to stick another person's name in here. Timothy. Sheriff and Mary's son, who is ill. How many we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's 6. All right, let me give you a little scenario. John's a good sheriff. He's a good husband. He's a good father. Stephen built John and Mary their home. Stephen also pays for their son Timothy's medicine. Okay? And then we have Mary, who is wife of John, daughter of Ted. She loves her daddy. Stephen, who's the wealthy rancher, church deacon, pays for Tim's meds. We have John's brother, deputy, engaged to Susan, who is Mary's sister. That's where I'm at, who is Mary's sister. Whatever. Engaged to Ted and daddy is building them a house. I'm just wasting a lot of time here, but what I want to show you, this six characters. How can you muddy the waters? Number one, John's best friend was a rancher, was killed by somebody who has been killing, burning down homes, things to get property. And they don't know who's doing it. And poor little Timothy here would not be alive without his granddad paying for medicine. Mary, her whole world is Timothy. Then we have Stephen, wealthy rancher, church deacon, pays for Tim's meds. Susan's daddy, building a house for Ted and Susan. We could throw a whole wrench in the whole thing here if you decided that Stephen is the killer. Now, I'm getting rid of this because I just wanted you to see this. But do you understand how if you give different characters different roles, you can muddy the water, you can have character distinction, and you can have a plot that can really go just about anywhere. Does that make sense to you, sir?
Yes, it does.
He said, yes, it does.
Yes, okay. When you are assigning characters, no first names or last names with the same letter or sound alike, or not all your girls' names end in Y. You know, keep things different, separate. Okay.
Okay, any more questions for anyone? Any more questions for DiAnn? No? Okay, thank you so much. So good to have had you, DiAnn. What a great presentation, lots of resources. A couple of quick reminders, and then we'll mention next month's meeting. Volunteers, we're still looking for them. Membership, if you're not a member, it's only $25 a year. Helps us do what we do with the equipment that we have and put the anthology together that's coming out, hopefully the first part of next year. Next meeting is October 19th. If you are a student, college $15, and high school students are only $10 to join for the entire year. And I'm going to turn this over very quickly to Jessica to describe next month's meeting.
I don't have flashcards this time. I hope you all don't mind. So next month is the last meeting of the 2024 DV Writers Guild year, and it is our third annual Jolyn Beering Memorial Prose Reading. So this year we're doing things slightly different. This year you have to be a paid member of 2024 in order to submit. Last year, of course, we had it open to anyone, and we had a lot of submissions, and I don't like turning people away, so I have to add a little bit of a cap. So if you want to submit and read your prose to the entire guild and have it recorded and put on the website and YouTube and things like that, you have to be a 2024 paid member, meaning that if you're not a member right now, you have to pay your dues before submitting for 2024, which means that you also have to then pay your 2025. The word limit is 1,800 words, the same as our anthology, and it follows our 3 Ps submission guidelines. So that's no politics, no proselytizing, and no pornography. You're going to submit them to dvwritersguild@gmail.com. Within the subject line, prose reading submission, followed by your name. And you can address to me, Jessica Bruce, and I will make sure that I read it, go through it, and I will send you an email saying if you are in. Submissions are open as of right now, and they close on October 12th at midnight, or 11:59 p.m. So make sure you get it in before then. I'll have the list, send it out, let you know if you're reading, and then we have our wonderful meeting on the 19th of October, I believe. So hope to see you there. We're going to close out this great year. It is also the meeting of our elections once again. So we have which one's vice president, secretary, and member at large. So if you want to know any more about that, come talk to any of us board members. We'll give you the lowdown on what those jobs entail. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Jessica's our treasurer, so we're definitely holding on to her for another year. Absolutely. Need someone to manage the money. And now we're adjourning the meeting and going on to Emilio's, those of you who are interested that are local, for lunch. I hope that you can all join us. Thank you again, DiAnn, and thank you for arranging this, Lynette. Great meeting. Excellent meeting. All right. Go about your business, citizens. Thank you.